Have you recovered yet? It is a Monday. We are at the Horseshoe Lounge, and Ohio State is undefeated still. 4-0. They are 17-14 victors on Saturday night at Notre Dame Stadium. That was a crazy one. Justin Zwick is back over here, the monochromatic man with the gray shirt and the gray pants.
They call that a gray suit. They call it a gray suit.
I thought it was a grout fit.
The grout.
Nicole's bringing it. That's Nicole Cox over here and Bobby Carpenter. He's fresh from the workout. We're breaking down everybody's clothes on a Monday to get things going. That's how I'm recovering from one of the crazier games that I've covered. What a night.
Entertaining.
It was
very good till the last drop.
It was a top 10 matchup that went down to the final play. What more can you want, Bob?
I don't know. I mean, not to have a heart attack. It's sitting there.
A 2-score victory would have been nice.
I'm thinking like, we just scored 10. Pretty good situation here. Get a stop, start driving the ball, and then you get the Fryer unnecessary roughness, which was also an equally bad. You know what's amazing? I've tried to focus on the positive stuff.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Day going full Ric Flair after the game, which was. I don't know if you can hear him tell Jerry Emick. If you listen to the radio, take a breath. Watch
this.
And that was great. And then hey, you know what? Double stamped it when he went in with Paul and Jim on the radio, and then triple stamped the double stamp in the post game presser.
Jerry came in. I was like, just let me kick it off. I'll get this out of the way. I was like, hey, was that a lunch pail win? So that you can tell the rest of us in this room the things that you said on TV, the things that you told Paul. And I thought he might be done after that, but he wasn't. He wanted to keep that train going.
Good for him.
Did it for about 5 minutes, and then one more thing. I don't know if the cameras picked that up. He turned to Jerry and he's like, okay, I'm ready to calm down. and then he stopped and he was like, we'll do the rest.
Here's my problem is we'll start soup to nuts here from the beginning. I'm doing my XM show.
That's hard because that's a long night that we had there.
It was. Well, it started Saturday morning with Lou Holtz on game day. They're interviewing him. It was such an amazing deal.
Was it Friday afternoon?
It was actually Friday.
Was it Friday? Yes,
I think it was Friday afternoon.
That was on McAfee.
So they had a little extra more time.
So I was watching that on McAfee doing my XM show Friday while I was on McAfee, and it was great. And I'm sitting there watching, and then I hear the hubbub because I can't hear it. I have this. I have subtitles on, but it's hard to get subtitles with Lou Holtz. They're not always accurate.
When you have two Lou Holtzes up there,
and when you have two dueling Lou's,
Lou Holtz says this, Lou Holtz says that.
It was tough. And here's the thing. I've always had a lot of respect for Lou. He coached here. He's an Ohio guy. That right, and he's always been very complimentary. And that right there, he basically just might as well, listen, Ryan Day's soft and Ohio State's soft. That's all he really needed to say.
Georgia to Alabama to
they rattled off all the losses. I'm like, you know why? Because you're playing those teams, because you're in the CFP. Exactly. By the way, Clemson, atrocious calls, and you beat them up. Bama, they threw it all over you, and they were the best team in the country clearly that year.
Against half of Ohio State's roster.
And, yes, and there was a lot of COVID issues, whatever. Second half of the Michigan game in the first year, Michigan, I'll say that's honest. Oregon, it was one play, crack sweep, they couldn't stop. You look at Georgia, I'm like, that was arguably one of the best defenses ever, they said. You ran the ball on them, and you did a good job against their run.
Came down to a field goal.
And what are we talking about here? You're playing the best teams in the country. Notre Dame doesn't have the opportunity to play those teams because they don't get there. Yeah. Okay, they don't, and they did in 2012 when they played Bama, and that looked like the Miami Dolphins playing the Denver Broncos yesterday. So, or on Sunday. So that all that stuff, Ryan was fired up, the team was fired up, and rightfully so. And I think I said it on Thursday, the team that wins the rushing battle, Zach talked about it, kind of co-signed and stamped it. Third down, pretty good. 10 of 17. There we go.
You win a lot of games that way.
Absolutely. And winning the rushing battle, you always want to look yards. That's the quantitative metric we can all look at. But is it yards per carry? Winning the rushing battle to me is a feel. Mm-hmm. When you need to rush it, can you get it? Notre Dame, I know this, on fourth down, they were 0 for 2, and one of them was a quarterback sneak that they were turned away. And so for a team
the other was a quarterback run
a quarterback run as well, which they reviewed. That's probably the only review they got right. Great job by Cody Simon, whose brother went there. There's a lot going into that as well. So they turned away. Ohio State 1 for 3, and then on a 3rd and 1, which albeit Notre Dame only had 10 guys on the field, but hey, I'm not going to why should I give them the benefit of the doubt if it's on the biggest play in the game? I want to know.
Play the team in front of you.
What person on that unit was it?
Dude, if I'm that guy, I'm calling a timeout in front of me. Or if we don't have any, I'm going and just pushing a lineman to get a offsides. They're going to give him a foot.
Yeah, 6 inches.
I know this. I'd rather give him up 6 inches than give up a no defensive end in front of me. What are we doing? So 4.7 yards.
The issue with that, Bob, is that if Ohio State snapped it while he was still running on, they'd get 2 chances at it. It's I understand If they scored, they just decline in the offside.
Why would they call timeout?
Well, they should have called timeout.
They had one. What are they saving it for? The overtime? They get more there. There's one play.
I know. No. I'm just saying,
no time left.
On the
all I'm saying is why they don't take the offside. That's why they don't take the offside.
I don't know.
Both of those plays at the 1 yard line?
2 in a row.
Yeah, 2 in a row. So they had
that might even be worse.
2 in a row.
That's
That's much worse.
That you didn't recognize.
Nobody noticed it and said, "Hey, we only got 10 on the
for
field."
a school that I have to watch all these people claim that is such high academic standards that their players can't count to 11 because they go.
Or their coaches barely. Somebody in the box should have said, "We only have 10 guys in the field."
That's exactly right.
Make sure we send somebody else in on the next play.
We got away with it, because they don't have to get them out there. Get them out there. I thought it was like. My thing was like, did they try to sub in between?
Came out, yeah.
How could someone run off on the biggest play?
We subbed on the last one, so they had time to do whatever they wanted.
It was coming out of a timeout. Yeah. The second one, I don't know.
Well,
but then Ryan Day runs the ball, and Nicole, he goes full WWE promo. What did you make of that?
It was awesome. It was amazing. Listening to him at the end was the best. I mean, I really was in shock. I was really stressed. Like at first I was like,
I can't imagine you because I was stressed.
I was like, everything's going to be great. And then I was like, ooh, this is too close for comfort. Too close here. And then I was like,
oh, we're losing now.
That's when things I was like, ooh. So I just had a lot of emotions going on, but it was a great game. That's the really neat thing about it. And I know people don't like when it's that close. I didn't like that it was that close either, but it was great football. Like it was
old school game.
It was really, really good.
It felt like when we were young, doing a great job.
Top 10 matchup. You didn't get as many points as maybe.
They had 8 drives.
77.
They had 8 drives.
They had 35 minutes of possession?
Yes.
I mean, they had the ball.
Hey,
when we kicked it back to them at the end of that game, I was like, they're going to run this clock out.
I got a nugget for this guy right here. It's been something that he's been clamoring for centuries, decades, maybe just years or even months, but
it's been a long time.
Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau played every single snap of defense in the game.
How about it?
I'm all for them playing more. When you're into 12 and 13 play drives, maybe after the 6th or 7th, it would have been pretty to get them out.
Catch your breath.
But he called for it. He asked, said, give me more.
Here's something I want to ask about.
They gave him another helping.
Do we have another defensive lineman we can put on the defensive line to maybe stop them from just running down our throats?
I think we got
at different times.
Well, they started getting it going. They've got their offensive line is one of the best in college football.
They were a good football team. I mean, all around in my opinion.
If they lose to anyone else but USC, I'll be blown away. And I think if they play a game like that against USC, they'll have a decent chance of beating them. Yeah. You possess the ball for 35 minutes, you have a good shot at winning.
Well, I tell you what, I was really impressed with Notre Dame on Saturday night. But I also saw everyone leaving that stadium. That is as physical of a showdown as you're going to find. And I would not want to turn around and go on the road
to Duke
this week if I was Notre Dame.
This is their Super Bowl.
That's going to be a problem. And I'm not predicting anything. Just saying that's going to be uncomfortable.
Duke's been playing good football, and you're coming off a big letdown.
We always have this debate: like, when's the right time for the off date? Do you need to want to keep
this
momentum?
date?
Oh, Marvin's ankle, the way that Kyle McCord was. He was beat up. I talked to him after the press conference in the hallway, wrote a story about that on ohiostate.rivals.com about like what it's like to lead a comeback and then the physical toll after that. It's the first time he's been through that. It was tough. And so everybody, Lathan Ransom, the 13 tackles, Sonny Styles, like those were hard hits. This is the right time for Ohio State to get an off day.
I would honestly put that performance by McCord in the conversation with Joe Germain in the 96 Rose Bowl. I mean, I hold that in high esteem because when you're younger and you're like in 6th or 7th grade, whatever the heck we were watching it, like everything seems so awesome. And then as you get older and you've played there and you've seen it, it just tempers everything. But 65 yards in 85 seconds, your fourth start going against the guy who started 50 games in his career and to not blink and to throw
some 10.
I mean, third down conversion after
third and 19.
The 3rd and 19 shot was a laser.
As soon as that was the intentional ground, I'm like,
we're done.
What do we
do?
3rd and 19. 3rd and 19.
I was like, can we get 10 yards and have a shot?
Like, oh my gosh, it was incredible.
Jay-Z, what do you think of Kyle McCord's performance?
I told you before, and I thought it was clutch. Maybe throughout the entire game didn't look perfect, but when it mattered the most, the kid stepped up.
He gave you his best.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He had ice in his veins. I mean, there were some 3rd down conversions that were called back. I mean, like, he just didn't seem like he ever got.
How about the pass he threw to Emeka that was dropped? That may have been the best pass of the night.
Changes the game entirely.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, there's little things. I thought for his first big game, top 10 matchup on the road, A+. I mean, it wasn't pretty the entire game, but he did what he had to do. And he talked about it, hey, last year, our last game ended on the last play.
Yep.
This year, we fought, we got to that last play, and we won on that last play. So, I mean, that's a big, that could be a big leap for a lot of confidence for these guys.
On that 4th and 7, I was thinking they're down 4, so they obviously need a touchdown. Let's say they're down 3. I'm like, I don't know if Ryan kicks that. I mean, it would have been like a 56-yarder, which 55. I'm like, I would not have felt good. Mm-hmm. But you throw it to Julian Fleming, who had 1 catch, I think, up to that point, and Julian makes a great play. Yep. That's the secret of that room. Like you always say, be ready when your opportunity comes. Like, hey, dude, it's 4th down. It's time to go.
Stover was ready when his opportunity came. I mean, Emeka was. It was great.
Well, we're already kicking it off here. We're getting the Roosters Buckeye leaves rolling with several names.
All of them, everybody
on the road.
Mm-hmm.
The QR code is on the screen, by the way.
What's that QR code for?
We're 2 games away, folks. 6 wins will get us there. But each and every week, Roosters is giving away a trip for 2. The Buckeye Bowl trip giveaway, 2 tickets to the game, airline,
deluxe accommodation,
hotel accommodation. So all you have to do is go to roosterswings.com.
Swag.
Or right here, it's QR code. Zoom in, boom.
It's on the screen.
You go to your
register. Computer. I mean, it's phenomenal. And so you get that.
Or this is the lucky one. If you can scan Bob's QR
That's all. It takes you straight to the winning page.
The
winning time.
Winners.
What do we have? Mini corn dogs.
Mini corn dogs today.
Bite-sized yumness.
The mustard sauce.
They're everyone's favorite.
Hey, if you're
mustard sauce.
If you're allergic
to
mustard,
whatever you want. That's fine.
Yep. Or mustard.
Listen.
It's appetizer 3.
If you're dipping, it's a mustard sauce.
I like it.
What's the difference between mustard and mustard sauce? Nothing. It's just in a little container and you're dipping it now. That's it. You put a knife in it, you spread it on the burger, it's just mustard.
They give you a handy
ketchup sauce. Yeah. I'm in with it.
So you don't spill your mustard sauce. There is a lid for it. Yeah. All right. That's appetizer 3's day, mini corn dogs this week. And Nicole has a bunch of Buckeye leaves.
I do. I would like to give them to the whole team and Ryan Day.
Do it.
I loved at the end.
So the bottle of Xanax you ate during the game.
I just I never feel that way, like that it's going to be that close. And, I think it just goes back to everybody's so hard on Kyle, so hard on him. And then look, he pulled through in an extremely tough moment. There were a lot of thoughts going through my mind, but I think everybody's mind. Everybody's mind.
This is a recovery
some
Monday.
of them hair dryer in a bathtub, stuff like that.
I don't want to say I lost faith. I just felt like this is as intense as it gets, and he pulled through. I just am so proud of him. I'm so proud of the guys. Lathan Ransom played incredible. I was impressed with the entire defense. I really was. I know, just up against that great of an offensive line, they just played incredible, and I just couldn't believe the score of the game. I looked it up. 77 games since with over 20. Ohio State scored over 20 points. So the last time was
Clemson,
Oklahoma. Oklahoma when we lost. It was 31-16.
Right.
So 77 games we've gone with scoring over 20 points, because I was like, I can't believe we haven't scored. Like, it's such a low scoring game.
My next question is, when is the last time we scored 17 and 1? That's probably
exactly.
Jim Tressel's probably here. Michigan State
2012.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
That was
gosh, what a memory.
Yes. Here's the championship toast. Open up your chest. Give me your heart, Zach Boren.
We won that 13-12?
17-16.
Or 17-16. It was 1 point.
Oh, my gosh.
The Braxton Miller special. So touch it on every single play. He's the quarterback. But then just I think he ran it 26 times.
Yep.
Anyway.
It's unreal.
Any more?
I finally had you guys were throwing these stats at me, came really ready to go. I'm glad I was able to
that was impressive.
Answer the challenge on that.
I couldn't even figure out how to Google it to find the answer. So that was great.
All right, good.
But I'm going to give it to an obvious person, and I don't mean to do this because I think the whole team is what got us there, but Chip Trainum. I was so impressed with how he kept his knees up, how he could make sure just the tip of the ball made it over that line. It was unbelievable to me.
Just
when you have that many guys.
You did it, not him.
I know. I was waiting for him. He was quiet over there.
I can't
believe
a
long weekend.
I could tell Nicole was like,
I was like, I don't want to jump on Bobby's
I knew it was coming. I just expect these things. But
that's also what she said.
With everybody obviously jumping on him and him just knowing I just have to make it over that line, just being aware of his surroundings and all of that, it just is impressive, and it's what won the game.
Yeah.
Well, and his story is amazing. Like he's from Akron, Hoban, didn't really get recruited out of Ohio State by Ohio State. Yeah, but more linebacker. Yeah. Goes to Arizona State, transfers. His whole family moves out there. By the way, his family stayed out there because they liked it so much. He moves back, plays linebacker. Last year to injury, flips over to running back, starts playing a little bit. They're trying to figure out how to use him in a crowded room. Went to Akron Hoban, so like at the diocese there, with Notre Dame. I mean, there's just so many things. And then he's an Ohio guy scoring the touchdown at Notre Dame to win the game. Like
that's
awesome.
Incredible. Like it was.
He's a great guy too. You would really like him as a human.
I love Jay-Z.
Well, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna give 2 out. McCord, of course.
There's no rules.
Fair enough. I mean, he, like I said earlier, ice in his veins, made the plays when he had to have them. McCord grew up a lot, I think, and it's only going to make him more confident going into the rest of the season.
How does that translate, Jay-Z, you think? I mean,
one, we're going to have to shore up the offensive line because he is getting his butt kicked back there, and that does mess with the quarterback's head. Just needing to get the ball out quick, or I think that last it was on the last drive to Trey. It was like that little out of the back. Like I feel like
much sauce.
I feel like he rushed that and put it out there a little bit, but he wasn't
too much mustard.
He didn't want to get caught with something, so he's like, "I'm getting this out."
Yeah.
So there is some
sack losing sack kills you. So
100%. So I mean that it didn't look great, and you're like, "Oh, that ball was bad," but I know probably what's going through his head. Get it out and just I'd rather incomplete. But just moving forward, I mean, just the balls. Gosh, how many third downs, 4th and 7, flaming across? I mean, he just looked unflappable back there, and he didn't look any different on any drop back throughout the entire game. I really think this is going to be a stepping stone for him to just, okay, that's a top 10 team on the road. I got it done, and this is my job, and he's going to really, I think, take off. Now we got to shore up that offensive line. They're getting better, I think for the most part. I don't think they played terrible.
They got to improve.
They're still improving, right? I mean, this isn't a finished product yet. At the end of the year, we're going to look, I would imagine, like we did in 04. We were bad in the beginning of the year, and we were really good at the end of the year. So they will continue to grow. But so he gets one. I'm going JT on the defensive side of the ball.
I like that.
Because when we punted that ball at the end of the game, after they just went on that long drive to score, we come out, we don't get it. I'm like, this is it. Yep. We haven't made any really negative plays or a ton of them. Then he goes out there, boom, meets the quarterback and the running back, and gets the sack, tip on the screen. I mean, 2 huge plays that we had to have on that drive and to get that ball back. So I mean, I think he, 6 tackles, total altogether, and a 3 and 3. But those 2 plays, I think, helped us win that game.
Well, the negative yardage play on the sack was huge. The tip might have been even bigger because I couldn't believe they threw it. It stopped the clock.
And it saved our time.
Saved the timeout, which you then ultimately needed later in the game. Because if not,
that 10-second runoff,
you probably have to burn it before the punt to make sure that you're preserving enough time. So well played on that. JT was going to be one of mine with everything he did. Warrior, the whole defensive line, I thought did a great job. And those guys, him and Jack, were battling really the whole game. You could give one to Kyle. I mean, Trey played an unbelievable game. I mean, as much criticism as Travion got last year, running, is his vision good? I mean, he popped one and almost popped another. Yeah. And then you wouldn't necessarily needed anything else. Like, it would have been good. He was right there, played really well. They did blocked well enough for him. Marv just really for the toughness. I mean, that roll looked bad. He came back out. He had a huge catch at the end of the game. But just him being out there in the presence, because then they kept doubling him. And that opened up Mac. That opened up Julian on the 4th down, Cade. I mean, all those things were open because you have that guy on the field. But the biggest one probably goes to Ryan Day.
I love it.
He's not an Ohio guy by birth.
All right.
And people made a big deal about that. And, can you beat Michigan? All this stuff. Like, Ryan loves the state, loves these guys. Like, he is as Ohio as they come. I was pumped the way he called the game. How aggressive he was. Maybe would have liked to tweak some of the calls. And I'm never going to, hey, I'm never going to be in lockstep 100% with the coach. And I understand why he was doing some of those things. In hindsight's 2020, because if one of them works, you're like, it's all good. You know, you're smarter than everybody else. But then I thought it was important that he needed to answer the bell after the game and address what was said, because this is a tough team. They're tough. They're mentally tough. They're physically tough. They stopped Notre Dame. They were on the road. They went and did everything else. And Ryan has leaned into that. The team has leaned into that. And hopefully that'll be a rallying cry. And I'm glad that he answered that and made sure that everybody knew they were aware of it. And this is Ohio against the world. It always has been.
Yeah, it was
always
incredible.
will be. Yeah.
It was the best.
It was great.
It was good. It was good.
Bringing back against.
Well, if you're not born in Ohio, Ryan Day's not. I was not born in Ohio. You just join the team.
Join the team.
Or do you want to be everybody? I mean, I don't want to be on the outside. I want to be part of it. I'm not moving. Ryan Day's not moving.
I'm not going.
I mean,
he got rid of his place in New Hampshire.
I was probably more stunned with the post than the score at the end than when Ryan went to the mic. I was like, oh gosh.
Watch this.
So like, woo, let's go.
So he's really doing it. He's doing this.
He's letting some steam
He's going to do
off.
it multiple times, in fact.
He had every right to. I just felt like it was a very unnecessary.
It was very
comment.
respectful. I mean, he didn't go after anybody
What Lou
else.
said, I mean,
But it was disrespectful.
Disrespectful, very disrespectful, and it didn't even really make sense. Like the lunch pail, I just felt like the comment overall was just ridiculous.
I thought he should have gone further. Like
he's a coach, and coaches are always respectful of other coaches.
Find Lou in the stadium, go body slam.
He did.
But like it became so popular, like all of the national media picking Notre Dame to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like not Lee,
and they were
Lee knew.
No, Lee knew.
Well, Lee. I mean, Lee wants Brutus's head. That's
that's
part of it. So I think he should just like rattled off all the scores that they picked, and Dan Wolken saying that Notre Dame should have been favored. Like keep it going.
Hey,
just rattle them off
at the end of the game.
Pull out my list.
Give it to Chris Jericho. You just made the list.
At the end of the game, the line before closing kick I saw was 2 or 2.5 in many places. That extra 0.2 seconds that somehow appeared on the clock, so they had to kick off
1 second
with the 3 point, the extra point that made it 3.
Well, Berm was talking about
through.
Them. You know, when they were reviewing the play, they were 16-14. Like, should they even kick the extra point?
Yeah, because there's only bad things.
Because you don't want to risk the block in a tie game.
Brian said, "Screw it." I doubled up. I hedged on myself. For the win.
Extra point.
Look at this ticket I got right here.
Why did I win by 3? Because I couldn't win by 2. Anyway, I don't know who you gave it to. Like there were 100 plays and 85 different players that combined to win this game in such an amazing fashion. I loved Julian Fleming screening to get the 4th and 7, and Cody Simon. Like out of everybody that
Cody, I didn't even think about that.
Cody Simon coming up and making the hit, like. That's an extra effort play, and it comes down to inches. Julian Fleming getting the 4th and 7 just at the line. Cody Simon forcing Sam Hartman out just at the line, just short. Either of those go a different way, or maybe we're talking about definitely talking about something different if Julian Fleming doesn't get.
I found out the Cody today. Like it's like your brother went there. You know how many times have you been there? I've never been there. He goes, they always played on Saturdays. We played a lot of our games in Jersey on Saturdays. He's like, so I'd never been to Notre Dame before. I go, that is remarkable.
That is remarkable.
And so for him to get a win up there, I go, with all the family history, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody's in a hurry to go back, but they don't have to. It's 17-14 win, and we are going to take a break in here. Nicole, anything else cooking right here? You got?
We just have the bowl trip giveaway. People just need to get on and register, and yeah, it was just an exciting game. And guys, I think there's something a lot more special too about a win that they had to fight so hard to get. Yeah. You know, I just think that as much as we all love the blowout, not we, because I don't. But the blowout,
it's a lot easier
games,
for me to do my job than what I had to deal with on Saturday.
I agree, but what this is going to do for the guys mentally is it's helping them grow, and there's something to be said for the hard work. Yep. So it was great.
Yeah, well said. Still a lot more show to come in here in Roosters at the Horseshoe Lounge. Nicole's going to go about the rest of her day, and we're going to be right back at a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Berm has arrived. He is ready to roll.
Ready.
How many Buckeye leaves do you have?
2.
What are they?
Lathan Ransom. In a game when the linebackers played their worst game that I've seen since 2021 against Oregon. Lathan Ransom stepped up, 13 tackles, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. You had to have a big game out of Lathan Ransom and Josh Proctor because the linebackers were not where they needed to be. And Josh and Lathan both did an incredible job making sure that these 7, 8, 9, 10-yard runs didn't turn to 40-yard
Big
runs.
plays.
So
limit the big plays.
Kudos to those guys, especially Lathan doing it. I'm telling you what, that was as physical a game on the field, like from the sideline. You can tell when a game is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it was physical. Jack Sawyer coming off the field told me he's never played an offensive line that good and that he doesn't know, like everyone walking out of the locker room was just wounded. You could tell that was a team that was beat to heck.
Yeah.
So kudos to everyone for staying in it and getting the big plays, that they had to get at the end after the back-to-back drives where they sort of looked tired.
There were 12 and 13 plays.
It was not just, it's almost like you're almost better off giving up a 60-yard touchdown run in that instance as opposed to the 14-yard 8-minute drives.
Well, at least get your offense
and
back.
That's where Austin maybe subbing the defensive line a little bit
you need to do
helped.
something. Yeah.
Austin's been clamoring, said, you want more of them? Have it all.
I mean, it's too much.
It worked.
In that game, it's too much.
Did he have enough in the tank or not have enough in the tank?
I get that. But we could have maybe the gas light may have been on.
Yeah, there was definitely some fatigue happening there, and
that may be so. But let's look at it from this perspective. They were continuing to rotate a defensive tackle, and I think, would you rather see more Mike Hall or less Mike Hall? I'm
a proponent of Mike Hall.
Like they came out right from the start, and he didn't play until 10th or 11th snap of the game. Like Ty Hamilton is a good player, and Tyleik Williams has earned the right to play as many snaps as he wants through the first month of the season. But Mike Hall is not a starter for this team.
I thought Notre Dame.
I'm really excited to watch him play this year.
I thought Notre Dame did a really good job winning the matchup battle with Ohio State for most of this game, where the Buckeyes, I think, went into certain situations expecting this or that. So they thought Notre Dame would come out and run the ball. That's probably why you have Hamilton out there instead of Mike Hall.
Yep.
They come out, they throw it 9 out of 10 plays, and Sam Hartman's getting some rhythm. Then in the second quarter, the Buckeyes start to sub in Sonny Styles or take him out and put Jordan Hancock in the game. And then Notre Dame starts running the ball. I think Gerard Parker did a really good job, winning the substitute battle against Jim Knowles. Now for the Buckeyes, to the Buckeyes' advantage, they're a better team. They have better players, and so they were able to keep things in front of them in that second quarter when it really could have gotten different.
They pitched a shutout in the first half. So
you can't argue that.
Not bad.
Offensively, there's a lot of guys. I would probably pick Kyle McCord, but he already did, and so I don't want to pound it too much. We'll talk about it more, but
it's also what she said.
And it goes to Emeka Ibuka, who, despite the fact, in a game like that, when you drop a touchdown like he did at the end of the first half, that can mess with you.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And in the second half, he made the biggest catches at the most. Honestly, the 3rd and 19 throw from the 22-yard line.
Some good shots of that.
We'll talk about it. There's no, not as good as I wanted to. That's long story short.
Seems loaded.
Long story short. Well, I mean, I had gone to the.
Do you have to tell the story?
Yeah, I mean,
so Emeka Ibuka, we'll finish it there. So he made the catches. If he falls backwards into the end zone there on that 3rd and 20, 3rd and 19, it's the biggest throw of Kyle McCord's life.
Would you put it on? I don't know if you heard what I said, Nicole. That drive to me felt on par quarterback wise, like Joe Germain Rose Bowl-esque.
It did. I mean, here's the thing. He was 5 of 13 passing on that drive. So it wasn't like he was clean. He nearly he threw an obvious interception that gets dropped.
Oh.
And then, but to his credit, then he comes back and makes every huge throw he had to make. The 3rd down, the 4th down, the 3rd down and 19. Those are throws that are just
Just throw that there wasn't enough alcohol in the world to calm my nerves at that point.
3rd and 19, you thought no chance are we getting this.
I was hoping to get 10 and maybe have one shot.
Exactly,
the running forward.
Not 1 yard
Notre
line.
Dame did a great job. They had 3 guys on Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
And credit to Emek, like he
sat down and
knew how to slow down and get himself into the window, and Kyle put it right on the money. To my story, so after
more about Berm.
Let's go. This is pretty good.
After the 4th down stop on the end around, which
that's good enough there.
After the 4th down and around, because I'm trying to prepare Doug and Bill's post game show as well as doing my stuff on the field.
Snappy Jays.
So but Notre Dame does not have a media room for the photographers. It's like easily accessible from the field. So I have to go up through the stadium, into the concourse, down the hallway, get to that room.
So have you left the field?
Had to get their stuff ready.
What's this guy doing? Taking a nap in the press box.
So it's 4th.
I'm writing. Just come out.
I'm writing.
He's writing 2
simultaneous stories because
deciding which way it goes.
And I don't really think that the one outcome is going to happen. So I don't have a lot prepared for that.
So I get to so that's 4 minutes left when the Buckeyes get stopped, right? So I get to the media workroom. I get their graphics together. Final score: Notre Dame 14, Ohio State 10. The Buckeyes get the ball back.
Meaningless work.
The Buckeyes get the ball back. I start walking back toward the field to be on the field for the end of the game.
That's your first mistake.
Halfway back to the field, I said, I went back and I made a graphic for Ohio State 17, Notre Dame 14, and I titled it "Just in Case."
I see.
And sent it to Bill
with a winky face.
And I said, "Just in case, we're probably not going to need this, but I don't want to be caught unprepared." And I get out to the field, and then that's right about the time the 4th and 7 completion to Julian hits. And at that point, I had left my primary camera in the back room because I have too many things I'm holding to get to post game and all that stuff. So I had the 2 cameras I was wearing, but not my main lens because I didn't think it was going to be necessary at that point. So long story short, I did not get as good a photo as I would have liked of the end of the game. I did get a good photo of Chip, diving into the end zone, that sort of stuff, but not the catch. No.
How many cameras do you have?
I carried 3 during the game.
Why?
But not the most important.
Pew, pew, pew.
Well, one's a long 300 millimeter lens, one's a 70 to 200, and one's like a 50. So
you didn't bring the long lens, is what you're telling me
at that moment because it's on a mono.
Yeah.
Well, it's not always about the length.
It's on the monopod, and
it's about how you use it.
I mean, I've waited for a long time for this because that game, I mean, it was very, very along the lines of some autoerotic asphyxiation. I mean, it took you right down to the last drop. There was no more air left.
That is why
there was no more air left, and that belt was so tight.
That's why every episode of anything that goes on the podcast is marked as not for kids.
It was
no matter
so
how
tight.
innocuous the conversation is, it's always marked not for kids for this very reason. Bottom line, I thought that I wouldn't need the long one because I had 2 other things I was carrying. I had to try to get ready for our post game content. So
he had sent in our Slack when it was still 10-0. Said it's wild that Ohio State's going to lose this game.
Yeah, you could feel it. It was just something.
They weren't taking advantage.
The penalty on Josh Fryer
it was bull crap. By
the
way,
look,
it's a judgment call.
It is a judgment call, but it's also something that Josh Fryer. I mean,
he probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I would say,
that guy gets
Notre
back
Dame
up off the ground and goes and makes a tackle or something.
McCord still had the ball in his hand. It wasn't like it wasn't.
He didn't let go of it yet.
He didn't go at his head. He was like.
I would tell Marcus, why don't you be a man and decline the penalty? I would have walked over there because your guys are supposed to be tough.
Yeah, it was not. It was not a play where you look at it and go, "That's egregious." I mean,
no,
because
it happens all the time.
McCord was literally right next to the guy. If the guy gets up and grabs him, it's a sack. I mean, it's a 3rd down.
Yeah, that guy's not stopping playing because he got thrown down.
So I mean. That play seemed to sort of take the wind out. It's almost like the G. Scott penalty against Michigan a year ago, where you're like, "My God, are you serious? That's happening right now?"
Because we just gained like 14 yards.
It's
a
third
and long, and we got
3rd and 9. And it's another great throw, and then you're like, the Buckeyes at that point, if they score at 17,
some of Kyle's best throws ended up in the back.
Yeah, exactly. So
or dropped.
I mean, you have the one that Marv. I don't know how on earth they overturned that.
Crazy.
That was a great throw. The throw to Mech gets dropped. That throw gets erased. I mean, Kyle, you're looking at really a 23 of 36 day for 300
Fleming
yards.
had a chance to moss somebody on the sideline too. I mean,
that was a pretty good ball.
The ball was, his hand, Fleming's hand was there.
Marv, if Marv's ankle's not dinged up. He probably makes the catch on the
deep shot.
The deep shot on the first down. There was
the dig he caught flying through the air.
There was an opportunity
like big to get that ball through there.
There was an opportunity for Ohio State to have this be a 31-10 game, and people would feel different. But like at the end of the day,
instead of Kyle was an A, they win by 17 points.
You win, and who cares? But they won, and
wins a win.
I'm looking back at the 2002 season, the 2014 season. Like you have to have these types of wins. Like
it's better to be lucky than good sometimes.
I asked you guys on Thursday night, and it was sort of. Maybe I worded it improperly. Like I didn't think Notre Dame had any adversity this season yet. Like they struggled a little bit at half against Central Michigan, weren't playing clean football, but they didn't feel like, oh crap, this isn't what we're supposed to.
I thought they had played more games, so that was better.
Yeah, I just thought that they had not been put in a position where you had your back up against the wall. And Marcus Freeman and his coaching
staff,
belt
around your neck,
who did Marcus Freeman's staff did a really nice job for 57 minutes. And when it came down to the end, all week long, we're talking about the experience. I'm not sure I get it.
I think it's Bob's safe word.
That's a safe word, I believe, yes.
All week long, the conversation was about the experience of the quarterbacks. But what it came down to was about the experience of the head coach. And I thought it was Ryan Day's best.
And Jared Parker, who had called a great game before that. But
yeah, I thought it was Ryan Day's best, like, game day coaching performance. I think people were confused or upset that maybe they didn't think Ohio State was aggressive. Like Ohio State was super aggressive in this game.
They went for it on fourth down multiple times.
Threw the ball long on first down a lot of times. The problem is that they're aggressive and then they're predictable by running the ball on 2nd and 10 every time. Like they were aggressive.
I think ultimately it comes down to red zone and short yardage situations, and that was not aggressive play calling. They were more creative. They used a defensive end as a fullback on one of them. They put an extra offensive lineman on the field. They had 3 tight ends on the field. They tried different things, but it was still ultimately the same failed running straight ahead. And what happened to KJ Hill motion and then right back out to the same side of the formation, or Chris Olave, or where did the passing attack go in the red zone?
It's weird. They're trying to force it into this big package. Like, we got to have 3 tight ends out there. Like,
because they have those guys, and I think it's a unique matchup. And
there's a unique matchup in that it never works out for Ohio State. It does.
On that end around, if you
talk about, they won the game.
Took the snap and threw it to Marvin down the line, he would have fallen forward for a first down.
Or what if a quarterback sneak? Kyle McCord's a big dude now.
That was my thing.
Or, Mayan cutting outside on the 3rd and 1 when the Buckeyes get stopped in the first half. It's blocked poorly from the weak side, but all he has to do is take a cut outside and he scores.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of things in that situation that the guys you can tell are pressing about it.
That's why I don't like bringing him in at the goal line. There,
if it's his only carry of the game,
down there, and it's like, all right, let him go. He's feeling it right now.
It's like everybody.
I don't get it. You put someone cold in.
It's the same thing that we talked about last year, like the toughness part. I don't know if Ryan Day just decided, the day before, Lou Holtz said, I'm not tough. Well, guess what? I'm going back to this. We're going to force it right down their throat and run it into the red zone. You don't have to do it.
Be tough in
when they finished the game, guess who was still on the field? Marvin and Emeka. So you can't just load up the box because there may be another option.
65 plays for Ohio State in this game, 15 of them on the last drive of the game in 1 minute and 28 seconds. Well, you can do that. The team is equipped. That is when they are best. So stop trying to do things that are not what makes your team the best.
I think part of it is what's happened against Michigan the last couple of years, and the fact that Penn State and Michigan might be games like that. And I do find it refreshing that they can win games without scoring 49 points. Like winning a game, scoring 17, leaning into the defense. They had 8 drives.
Yep.
8 drives.
So did Notre Dame.
That's what I'm saying. That isn't
an NFL game.
The NFL game still has 10, 11, 12. I mean, that was crazy.
The Dolphins scored 10 touchdowns on Sunday.
That's a whole nother beast because I don't even know how that's possible. But 8 drives that is like a high school triple option Navy rushing attack. Nobody's doing anything. It's because of the length of the drives and just kind of the way the game flow went. I thought Ryan did a really good job with it. There's definitely room for improvement. There always is going to be. And I do think Ryan is smart enough to sit back and be able to analyze, hey, all right, maybe we should call I like the play action on the goal line. Maybe on 3rd down, not on 4th.
That's what I said on Saturday. He's done a very good job of calling the 3rd down play on 4th down and the 4th down play on 3rd down. And I'm not sure why it's happening that way. Go out there on 3rd down, get creative, do something a little bit different on 3rd down or 2nd down instead of putting yourself in that position where we all know on fourth down they're going to do
play action because you just tried to run it up the middle a couple times.
I told Berm on Saturday night, I think that sometimes the competitive streak in Ryan Day, there's just too much Marty McFly in him.
I like Marty McFly. He'll run in there and fight Biff, and it doesn't matter.
But you call him chicken and you get him to do some things that he knows are not smart. Right? I mean,
I got friends like that.
That's the whole growth of the trilogy, is that by the end, he doesn't care that people say he was born on third base or that his team's not tough. He just goes out and wins the game the way he knows how, and he doesn't
flies off in his DeLorean.
Does he wear a cowboy hat in the is it Western theme for them?
That's the end of the third one.
I want
he no longer cares.
I want Christopher Lloyd to dot the I.
That somebody called him yellow or chicken.
There was a third one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, Jason.
It's in the Southwest. It's the Western. It's awesome. It's good.
Goes back in way back in time.
Yeah, they go to the Old West.
To the Old West.
I enjoy that.
Yeah. That's the growth. You tune out the noise, which, okay, the Lou Holtz thing fired him up, but it doesn't mean that you have to just put Caden Curry in the game of full.
And Lou Holtz was,
which is what happened in
emblematic
Back to the Future too.
of everything that Ryan Day has heard for the last 2 years. And I think,
I think coming from Lou, it's a little bit different.
It is annoying because I said this when we were at the house on Friday. I'm like, I don't know why on earth Lou Holtz would do that. And I hadn't talked to anybody from Ohio State, but I knew that was
going to send shockwave.
Like, it seemed weird for an 86-year-old guy who hasn't been on TV, and
it was weird that they cloned him.
Yeah, like I just
wonder if Marcus was like, Lou.
I'm sure.
Why would you have said that the day before the game?
There's just nothing to be gained from it. But it was just the microcosm of everything Ryan Day has heard, and a lot of the conversation post game is about him saying, "I can't believe Lou Holtz would say that." The one thing that gets lost now, he said, "We played one bad half in the last 2 years," and it's true.
Yeah,
like people are so. I mean, you can nitpick what constitutes a bad half. Okay, they played one half against Michigan in 2021 where they got their asses kicked.
They got beat. They got out toughed,
and that's it.
Yeah.
And why on earth would people like? There are also variances in the toughness world, right? There's mental toughness. There's physical toughness. There's no doubt this Ohio State team is mentally tough. Like these kids they go through it, man. Like, and you can tell that this has been something that's just been eating at him. And
what's eating Gilbert Grape?
I can't imagine what would have happened had that final play been 1-2 inches short. Like that. I mean, I guess he's extremely fortunate that there was 10 guys on the field.
I'm not sure how fun or casual this conversation would have been if without that extra inch, but sometimes it's all you need.
That extra inch is all you need.
I'm going to be honest.
Absolutely right, partner.
Like, if you think that you put the 11th guy, if I need to go back and watch because I was watching some.
I feel like there's a spot for him right on that left side of the.
There is, but I don't know definitively.
I think it confused Josh Simmons.
I think it really did.
He didn't block anybody.
So that's my point.
He let the guy come free off the edge.
He blocked down, and the guy came free off the edge. He would
almost
typically fan out on the tackle, and then that wouldn't shorten the quarter.
And that guy would have to loop
and
out.
He'd have to loop in or go through there, and maybe it's looks a little different.
He might walk in on that.
But Josh Simmons really didn't block anybody because it's like there's no play where you decide like, oh, we don't have an edge here.
That's Marcus
Freeman jump offside,
especially because it almost looked like a read option. It was almost looked like a read for Kyle, and you're obviously keying on that end, and you look at it. Oh crap! There's no one there, and then
maybe Marcus Freeman was playing fourth dimensional chess. Like I'm going to take a guy off, and that's going to confuse Ohio State.
That's like what Les Miles did down at LSU.
Well, so the place where we were staying, like my buddy, we used to cover Tennessee together back in the day. Why is
that game against Tennessee?
This was the Tennessee Derek Dooley 13 men out there against LSU. Like, how do we always get to cover these games where people leave? Like, well, the right number of guys, maybe it would have been a different outcome on the field. Like, we've had the real pleasure of covering some weird games. That was 13. That was 2 extra. Marcus Freeman decided to go with one
they
less.
They never called a penalty on that, correct?
Well, the Tennessee one, they realized there were 13 men. Tennessee scored a touchdown, and they had to call it back. And then LSU got to stop on the next play to end the game.
13. That's bold.
Yeah. It's easy to get a stop with 13. It's harder with 10.
with less.
Again, like you're talking about experience all week, Hartman versus McCord, but that moment, like the excuse from Marcus Freeman, we didn't want to risk a penalty. Like, what?
Yeah.
Call timeout, dude.
Call timeout. You have one.
Yeah.
And by the way,
you didn't want to give Ohio State the chance to reset. We didn't want to call. We didn't want to get a penalty.
I said it to Bob earlier. The penalty part is legit. Because if he was just running on the field and was offside, then they get 2 plays.
But here's the thing.
Because you're going to run
And
that
if you-
one, right?
they-
You tell
they
you tell your guys who are brainiacs, because everybody said that you have to be smart to go to Notre Dame. Tell them to go up and just tap the offensive lineman on the head.
Yeah, I mean,
They'll give them
there
half a
has to
foot.
be some sort of call
Dead
on the
ball.
sideline, right? To say,
I mean,
like,
I will
How
concede
about
that
this?
point, but, like,
I see all these
that
guys
was-
go down with phantom leg cramps all the time. Yell scuba out there, and someone takes a dive.
Bobby
That's-
would have been yelling from the middle of the field
You're
back
giving-
in our day.
you're
We're
giving-
missing somebody.
you're giving four. You're giving
What are
4
you
additional
doing?
inches to the offense. Like, it's worth it.
to have another guy.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, 100%. From the 1 yard line to the 6 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
That part we can all agree on for sure. But guess what? Notre Dame didn't do it. And Ohio State won 17-14. Chip Trayanum with the game-winning touchdown to keep Ohio State unbeaten going into the off week.
I hope they beat Duke this week.
I do too. It just makes it look better. Right?
I talked about it
We
all
want them
day
to
on
win
Sunday,
out,
like,
don't we?
You have this is the worst possible time for Notre Dame to have to go play Duke. Duke's a pretty good team.
Duke's
now.
good, and
Oh,
it's
they're
at
playing
Duke
good ball
at night.
too, yeah.
At Duke at night. Like, Ohio State getting this off week at this point is so essential, and it's why, like, I don't think Wisconsin's anywhere near good enough to beat Ohio State, but the reason why I kind of have that game circled is because the physicality of the Penn State game the week before will make it a different game.
You're getting way ahead of things, Berm. We
Yeah.
got to go 1 week at a
Hey,
time.
1 week.
You're going to
at
be
a time.
taking on what potentially will be in 2 weeks an undefeated Maryland
They should be
Terrapins
ranked.
team.
They should be ranked. It
And
should be a top.
That game is going to be at noon. It is going to be on Fox.
Homecoming.
I don't care
I'm
what
done with the noon
anybody
kicks.
else
Homecoming
would have
for Ohio
told
State.
you about
It's
when
a
that game
big
was going to
noon
be or
game.
where.
Mm.
Noon, Fox. I promised. I told you it was coming. Don't listen to anybody else suggesting otherwise about these.
So
network
done
kick
with noon
contests.
kicks. They're awful.
You love them.
They're the worst.
I love them.
Yeah, because you
I
guys
know.
you're lazy and you want to be done working sooner. It's easier for your job.
Hmm.
Nothing about a noon
I can
environment is
understand that.
better
Part
for
of that
you.
is that's true. But it doesn't.
You're mistaking the fact that Berm and I would want to get up early after Friday night beers to go cover a noon game. That's not the case.
It's still an 8 o'clock a.m. to
3:30.
6 o'clock day, and then I have to drive home. It's still a 13-hour workday.
Yeah, but you can get all your stuff done. It's like not under the cloak of darkness. And
Well, yeah, that's nicer because then we actually have a timeline that works for everyone.
I enjoy Burn having to run around and build graphics and change stuff.
It's much easier to do at home because we have the system calibrated nicely.
Anyway, I've crushed
We got that
the
belt
exit
tightened
of the
just
show
right.
this week. Didn't get derailed at all multiple times as we tried to wrap up at Roosters. That's how fun and casual this conversation was this week. We appreciate Nicole Cox for having us in the Horseshoe Lounge. I appreciate Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. Thanks again to Roosters for having us. We'll be back again next Monday. See ya.